Welcome, traveler, to Folk Recovery, Julian Taylor. And here is Julian's story.
Welcome. I'm Julian Taylor, and this is my journey on folk recovery. I am folk because I believe in love and kindness. And I write music for the most part that is based on those elements. I also write music that is based in the natural world, and nature is a big part of my art. And I've been going to open stages and performing music and writing songs for most of my life. Let's see, half of it at least, just a tiny bit more than half of it, actually, now that I'm doing all the math in my head. But folk music, I think folk music is for the people, and I'd like to think of myself as a person. I found folk through many different elements. I guess there goes that word again, but I think it's such an important thing. Um, and when I was really young, I played the piano, and I was learning how to play classical piano. That's what my dad plays, and I wasn't really that interested in it, um, even though I did recitals and things like that. What I was really interested in was music from jazz musicians and blues musicians, primarily at that particular point in my life. And that was mostly because my family, would listen to that kind of stuff. My mom's generation would be, I guess, the Motown generation and the Stax Records generation. But before that, Blue Note and the Verve recordings, and certainly a lot of the older blues stuff, boogie woogie piano, things like that. And my grandfather would listen to. And I found that rather intriguing. And I believed at that point in time that folk music would best be described for me as rural blues rather than city blues. That's how it was explained to me at the time. So anything from, you know, um, Robert Johnson to Elizabeth Cotton, things like that were certainly the first influences that I had as an artist trying to make my way in the world and I never looked at myself as a folk artist. It's even hard to do that today, because folk music is such an array of what we listen to. I think country music falls under it, singer-songwriter genre falls under it, and I got into some of that stuff as well. Some of the singer-songwriters that really influenced me, I remember when my mom gave me a tape from Jim Croce. I thought that was wild. I'd never heard stories like that, like Bad Bad Leroy Brown and You Don't Mess Around with Jim, even though they're quite up-tempo numbers. The lyrics and the story that he was telling was so interesting to me. You almost got lost in that world. So he would have been one of the first singer-songwriters that I was really into. Richie Havens would be another. Bob Dylan would be another. Odetta would be another. Joan Armatrading would be another that I got into. James Taylor, Simon and Garfunkel as well. I mean, Paul Simon's a wonderful writer. And so his stuff made a lot of sense to me as well. Willie Nelson would be another that made a lot of sense to me at the time. And obviously all the blues guys like Muddy Waters, Howling Wolf, Big Mama Thornton. I've mentioned some of the others already. Even what's his name? Taj Mahal was a huge influence on me as well. And then, so that's where I started. I mean, I played acoustic guitar because I realized that I couldn't take a piano to a campfire. And my dad and my mom were like, well, he likes guitar. And I taught myself how to play guitar at first. And then they were, willing to help with some lessons here and there. But I played both electric guitar and acoustic guitar at the same time, basically. Certainly started with an acoustic guitar that my cousin Ronke gave to me. I borrowed it and never gave it back. So maybe she gave it to me and maybe not. I don't know. But it's still in the family. And I just was really interested in that kind of thing. J.J. Cale was another one that interested me in a big way. So yeah, I don't think it was ever folk music. I always thought that it was blues music, actually, oddly enough. It never occurred to me that it was folk music until later. So I looked at it as folklore. I see folk recovery in Canada as a reclaiming of the art form itself from the people that I personally believe had a very large contribution in the creation of it. So I believe that the indigenous people of Turtle Island and the African people that were brought here had a lot to do with folk music. And here is why I say that. These particular cultures are oral traditions in type, in terms of learning the stories and communicating those stories, those allegories, those lessons to the next generation, and so on and so forth. We are a group of people that didn't really have the benefit of having things put to pencil and paper and typed out in the written word. I believe that folk music and folk in general is, like I said in the beginning, for the people, that teaches about oppression, that also teaches us about love and kindness and how to move forward in the world. And it would be a shame to not have it documented, which is wonderful. You're doing a great job at this, to explain to people that that's where the origins of this comes from. And that's my belief. Not everybody will agree with me. Like I said, most people don't. So, but it's really a reclaiming right now, and I'm so honored and grateful and privileged to be even just a little part of that. My final share with you, traveler, is I believe that we have a job to do here. I believe that I was put on planet Earth for a reason, and that everybody here was put on this planet for a reason, and that our journey is really about trying to communicate with the other people that are here in a loving and kind way, an accepting way. For example, I do identify as an Afro-Indigenous person, but before I identify with being that, I identify with being a soulful person, first and foremost. I believe that every bit of the work that I put into on a daily basis isn't about trying to overcome other people, but rather to try to embrace them in the best possible way that I can. I believe that we all sing one song. There are just different versions of it. It's like everybody's got their own remix version of the one song, and that's the love song that we're trying to share with each other. And because of that belief, I have faith that artists out there that are creating work and telling their stories are the people in this world that are so needed in terms of social, economical, political change, because we are documenting what we are seeing and what we are feeling. And not everybody has the ability to document and observe and then in turn channel those ideas and feelings into something that you can understand. And like I said before, I'm just very grateful that I've been able to do that with part of my life. There's a whole other part of my life that is different from that. And for, you know, anybody who is willing to listen, I'm willing to listen to, because that's one of my favorite things to do. And I just hope that the next generation certainly listens, because we've gotten ourselves into a space where things are fast, moving fast. We are watching things move fast, and we need to just sort of take a little step back and listen a little bit more. So I'm very happy to be able to even have a voice, let alone hands that can play the guitar and legs that can walk out of bed. I'm very grateful for that. They won't always be able to do that. And I know that. But what I also know is that any idea that I've had and that I've put down will last forever. And so I want other people to know that their ideas and their the things that are important to them, they last forever too. We are all everlasting.
Thank you, Traveler, for joining us on this Folk Recovery oral history production, created by guest storytellers with contributions from Gaitrie Killings, ASL performer and advisor, Joni Narita, folk community advisor and sound producer, Karen Young, technical producer, Stephanie Williams, assistant producer, Alyssa Matthews, station manager at CJRU 1280 AM, Allison Skirm, Special Collections and Liaison Librarian at Toronto Metropolitan University Libraries, Heather Hewitt, Folk Recovery Logo Designer, as well as Senior Artwork Specialist and Yogi. And special thanks to our friends, family, and community supporters, and to our funder, the Ontario Arts Council. I am Kijo Buchanan, narrator and executive producer. Ashe.